1.7 million, public SVC and program 575,000, and for that revenue, sorry, wrong one. Tuition and fees is what they charge, is how much they get from you guys, from what we pay and stuff. And then auxiliary enterprises it's like they're furnished goods that are provided for like students. So basically, like parking tickets, those things, the little red slips that you get when you park in the wrong spot, or when they charge you for parking, or what else, like vending services, college stores. And then for public SBC and program, no information was shown over what that really was, but there's the amount, and those are the three program services. Here are a list of all the schedules. We got Schedule A, B, D, E, F, G, I, J, and O. And what these do, they like further explain. They further explain where some of the amounts come and like what's done to those amounts. There's just basically, like if you're looking, like when we looked at the revenues, some of them could have like little notes that go on some of these schedules just to tell you where the amounts come from. Part 5, legal compliance. Employees we found out through looking through legal compliance that the employees were paid on time, and payroll taxes were deposited with a timely basis. So NCU is pretty accurate when it came, or on time when it came to doing these specific stuff, just I guess to avoid any issues in the future. Alright, so part 7 is the compensation. This is where you find out how much the officers, directors, trustees, and independent contractors are getting paid. And so here in this section, that's their salary, and this is their bonuses, which include just for bonuses like doing a good job, health insurance, healthcare, retirement, stuff like that. And so in total, Womack would be making, if you add those two up, in a year he's making $233,000, D. Young $143,000, Michael Fuller $120,000, Dennis Lindsay $182,000, Keith Potter $116,000, and Greg $64,000. Here are the top 5 independent contractor expenses. So we got food services, academic instruction, recruiting, custodial services, and architectural services. Food services, that's how much they pay NCU to go do meals at the banquet room or at the MEC. And so it comes out to $545,000. Academic instruction comes out to $329,000. Recruiting, where they go out, fees like going to other schools, traveling, all that stuff, just to go and talk to students at other schools, $257,000. Custodial services, $214,000. And architecture services, $191,000. Part 8, the statement of revenue. So we're shown the total revenue that NCU makes is $22 million. The revenue from tuition and fees is 15, and contributions and gifts and grants is $2 million. So in total, what I found out, it shows that NCU is heavily dependent on their students for their funding and their donors, because three-fourths of their income or their funding comes from students and donors that come over to the school. Here we're looking at the non-interest bearing accounts. This is from the part 10, the balance sheet. This is the beginning of 2016 and the end of 2016, and it shows how much they have the reserves, the rainy day fund. Let's say something goes wrong and it's just their extra money. Some might say that $1 million is a lot, 1.7 million, but honestly, after finding out they have 18 million worth of property, lands, and buildings, if anything were to go wrong, that million might not be sufficient enough, but it's there. Schedule A, we look at the public charity status and public support, and we are shown whether or not the organization is in danger of becoming a private foundation in which they lose their tax exempt status. That's where a group of private organizations fund, like a group of 5 or 6 fund like a certain not-for-profit organization, and after reviewing their Schedule A, we see that there's no risk of them becoming any, there's no risk of NCU becoming a private foundation, so they stay with their tax-exempt status. Next, we look at the Schedule B, Schedule of Contributions. Through an extensive search, I found out that not all corporations or organizations, not-for-profit organizations, are required to disclose information about how much they get or who donates to the public. They have to disclose to the IRS, but not to the public. And so in this case, NCU didn't disclose who were their top donors and who, like how many people donate and stuff like that. Here's Schedule J, compensation information. And so when you're looking at the 990, there's a checklist of all of these things that they could receive, and in the red is what their top officers, directors, trustees, key employees, highest compensated employees receive. The 2 in red are the housing allowance for residents for personal use, and the other one's health or social clubs dues or initial fees. And so for the first one, it's basically kind of like an allowance that they receive an amount of money in compensation for basic living, for their the basic living expenses for employment situations. So basically paying for like parts of their electricity or their land or whatever comes up. Health and support social clubs or invitation fees are more like groups that they attend that's part of it is paid for, or health insurance that they get and stuff like that. And Schedule O, these kind of go over like some specific response to specific questions, explain certain processes, matters to agree on. Like examples would be salaries, how much to pay a certain employee. That's what the board of directors do when they get together, and Schedule O kind of goes over all that stuff and over what they say in the meeting, and also describes a certain board meeting, well, just what I explained. And then here are the scholarships awarded to students. For the regular scholarships that NCU gives, it's $4 million. About 449 people get that. Tuition remission is 35 people get that, $259,000. Educational opportunity grant, 89 students get it, $47,000. Federal work study, 44 people get it, $79,000. Pell grant, 288 people get it, $1 million. And then teach grant, 45, you got 158,000, and then state grant, 132, $254,000. These are all that are awarded to students, and yeah, this probably concludes my presentation, but I did this, so I chose NCU because I thought it'd be more relatable to you guys, to explain the finances and to explain like what goes on in NCU, and maybe you might stay and maybe you might transfer after my presentation. Any questions?